Good evening, friends and supporters, and welcome to IDC's 8th National Summit 2021. In 2014, IDC started to protect and preserve Christianity in the Middle East, and we decided to start as a group, myself and Andrew Doran, to start this great organization to protect and preserve Christianity in the Middle East. And that year we decided that we will do our event on September 11th, and for a very good reason. What happened in September 11 and what Al-Qaeda did attack the United States, they are the same enemies that attack Christians in Syria, Iraq, and all over the Middle East, just with different names. Qaeda, ISIS, the Islamic State, the Muslim Brotherhood, ISIL, they're all the same, but with different names. But since 2014, In Defense of Christian has been a leading voice in Washington, D.C. for the persecuted Christians in the Middle East and around the world. 2021 has presented many challenges for the persecuted Christians across the globe. 80% of the persecuted worldwide happen to be Christians. We will hear later on from several of our speakers about this. And we are hard at work every day to ease this suffering. This year we're concentrating on two big issues, and the title of our advocacy is Save Lebanon and Stop Turkey. So, as we all know, in Lebanon, there is a corrupt government, and we need to, and Hezbollah is in total control of the country. It used to be the only democracy in the Middle East. It has nothing to do what I call, instead of In Defense of Christians, we call it In Defense of Lebanon. Because in Lebanon, the Christians don't need help, they're not getting persecuted. But Hezbollah in his own way is persecuting Christians and others with their weapons and terrorizing the country. So, and with Lebanon, with over 2.2 million Syrian refugees, it's like bringing in to our country here 150 million. We're having a hard time right now on our border with only a few thousands at the border. Can you imagine 150 million refugees in this country? So we need to find a solution for those refugees. And we need to help the Lebanese and the Lebanese armed forces to secure the border. This is how Hezbollah, they use the border to bring in weapons to Lebanon, and also to help the Assad's regime. So we call on the expansion of the UNIFIL mandate to secure the southern border, as well as the rest of the border with Syria, the Bekaa Valley, the Bekaa, and other areas. So over the past year, IDC has played a pivotal role in securing historic milestones for freedom, religious freedom. And we will continue doing this. I'm also afraid for this country of ours. As you know, many countries and many terrorists want to hurt us here in our homeland, in the United States, like what happened in 9/11. And as we all know, hundreds of Americans were fighting along with ISIS and other terrorist organizations in the region. So we want to make sure also we're also secure here. We want to keep the terrorists out of the United States. On April 24th this year, after more than a century, President Biden officially recognized the Armenian Christian genocide, which claimed the lives of over 1.5 million Armenians and an additional 1.9 million Greeks, Assyrians, Chaldeans, Syriacs, Aramaeans, and Maronites between 1915 and 1923. So we're grateful for the President in doing this. In May, the United States Department announced an increase of $15 million in foreign military finance to the Lebanese armed forces. And earlier this month, President Biden authorized an additional $47 million for a total of $62 million in defense assistance to the Lebanese armed forces. On August 4th, the one-year anniversary of the devastating Port Beirut explosion, President Biden announced nearly $100 million in humanitarian assistance directly to the Lebanese people through USAID. Because of the corruption in Lebanon, we always talk with the US government to help the people directly. And this money is going directly to the people without going through the government. So we want to thank also the government for this help. In June, the US State Department announced plans to deliver over $400 million in additional humanitarian assistance directly to Syrian civilians, many of whom are Christians deeply affected by the decade-long civil war in Syria. In July, the US State Department announced plans to deliver nearly $155 million in additional humanitarian assistance to genocide survivors in Iraq. This is a project that was started before by our previous administration, Trump administration, and we're grateful also for continuing help on this with the Biden administration. But our work is not over. There's still much more to be done. In addition to IDC's milestone achievements, we are actively championing a number of ongoing initiatives in Congress and the executive branch, including US and international support for the Patriarch of the Maronite Church in his calls for active neutrality and a UN-led international conference to address the humanitarian, economic, political, and security crisis in Lebanon. We will continue to work with Congress, the State Department, and USAID to increase humanitarian assistance. We have been crystal clear with the US administration. While we are not advocating for a renewed deal with Iran, we hold firm that any potential deal must be conditioned on Iran's unconditional dismantling of its proxy militias throughout the region, which have brought untold suffering, even for Americans. We lost many American lives in Syria and Iraq, and which have brought untold suffering to Christians in Iraq, Syria, and Lebanon. We also continue to call on the appointment of a special envoy in Nigeria, where the ongoing anti-Christian violence is nothing short of a genocide against Christians, yet it remains unrecognized. In 2014, the Near East and South Central Asia Religious Freedom Act was passed by Congress in a bipartisan basis and signed into law by President Obama then. It authorized the designation of a special envoy to promote freedom for religious minorities in the Middle East and South Central Asia. Unfortunately, the post has remained vacant since its authorization in 2014. Last week, IDC sent a letter to President Biden signed by 22 Christian leaders, former members of Congress, and subject matters, calling on President Biden to appoint a special envoy to promote freedom for religious minorities in the greater Middle East in accordance with a duly passed law. This is a law that passed in 2014, so we're asking the President to appoint a special envoy for religious parties in the minorities in the Middle East. We're also leading the fight against Turkish President Erdogan and his persecution of Christians in Turkey and internationally. We are working in the US government to push back against Turkish aggression against Armenians in Nagorno-Karabakh, Cypriots and other Christians in Cyprus, and Syriac Assyrian Christians in northern Syria and northern Iraq. We are fighting to ensure that Christianity does not disappear from Syria and Iraq in our lifetimes. To that end, tonight I call on the US government once again to increase sanctions on Turkey for its many violations against international religious freedoms and state-sponsored persecution of Christians. We also call on Secretary of State Blinken to discontinue Saudi Arabia's long-standing sanctions waiver and designate Saudi Arabia as a country of particular concern for its religious freedom violations and apply appropriate sanctions. Finally, we are actively advocating for a series of legislative measures. Senate Resolution 1637, House Resolution 558, to cut off Hezbollah's financial networks and erode Hezbollah and Iran's control in Lebanon. House Resolution 117, to urge improvement treatment of Copts in Egypt. Basically, we're asking for them to be treated equally. And we will continue to work with Congress and with the government of Egypt. House Resolution 3056, to respect the rights of the ecumenical patriarch in Turkey. Senate Resolution 97 and House Resolution 445, to end the violence against Christians in Ethiopia. There's also an ongoing genocide going in Ethiopia. House Resolution 143, to recognize the Simile Massacre of 1933. And of course, Senate Resolution 80, to establish a Senate Human Rights Commission. We would like to have a Senate Human Rights Caucus Commission to be officially, we have one in the House and we're working on one in the Senate that's led by two of our friends, Senator Tillis and Senator Coons. We thank the Biden administration, the Blinken State Department, and USAID under Administrator Power for their cooperation and results thus far. We urge them to continue to elevate international religious freedom as a foreign policy priority. We also thank our partners in the 117th Congress for their leadership, tireless work, and continued partnership. It's our partnership with Congress that makes our work possible. So I want to thank many that are here and present tonight. Our co-chair, Congresswoman Spear, and Congressman Adderholt that I saw earlier, and Congressman Gonzalez, thank you. We're one of our tonight's champions. So I want to thank everyone. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my great pleasure this evening to announce IDC's 2021 Congressional Champions, a bipartisan group of legislators whose record demonstrate their concern for the Christians in the Middle East, in Africa, and all over the globe. IDC's 2021 Congressional Champions are Senator Bob Menendez, Senator Jim Rich, Senator Chris Van Hollen, Senator Todd Young, Congressman Tim Burchett, Congressman Ted Deutsch, Congressman Vicente Gonzalez, who is present here with us, Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee, Congresswoman Debbie Lesko, Congressman Michael McCall, Congressman Hal Rogers, and Congresswoman Dina Titus. Congratulations to all of our congressional champions on their well-deserved honor. Later in this evening, program will also be presenting IDC's top awards, the Charles Malik Human Rights Award and the Cedars of God Award. To our friends and supporters and partners joining us this evening in Washington, D.C. and around the world, it is an honor to have your support once again. Without your support, our work wouldn't have been possible. We hope you enjoyed this evening's program. Thank you, and may God bless you.